Welcome back to the NutriMedical Report with a dynamic news anchor, broadcaster, analyst, Tim Alexander Lord Sterling. Tim, you made a very important and very, I call, humorous comment about one of your people that check your blog spot, which is Europe Business with one s.blogspot.com, and they asked for confirmation from NOAA, the National Oceanographic Administration. And tell us your comment, because I think this
emailed me, and I post one of my email addresses on the site so people can email me. And he said, "Well, you're doing a good job with all this." But then he said, "Have you got confirmation from NOAA?" And this particular individual was in England, and I said, "With all due respect, if you want confirmation, look outside the window. Just look outside the window." I mean,
that's
all
pretty
of
funny.
England is absolutely covered in snow and ice. And it's just unheard of. And, of course, they had a riots in London today, but the people are bundled up like you've never seen people bundled up in London. It didn't. The students were so mad it didn't stop them from rioting, but it is unbelievable weather in Europe. This is what you and I, and also Dr. Zakari, this is what we warned back last summer could be happening. And it's not good to always be right. In this, I'm not a bit pleased that we're right. It's nice to be right, but this is bad news. And we are seeing the effect of the effective death of the North Atlantic Current, which is caused by the death of a key part of the thermohaline circulatory system, and that is the death of the loop current in the Gulf of Mexico, because about 78-79% of the oil is still present beneath the surface, somewhere just beneath the surface to the seafloor, because the corrupt Obama administration allowed the corrupt British Petroleum, BP, to use millions of gallons of dispersants to sink the oil so that it would lower their automatic fines. Well,
and they're still doing it, by the way. They're still using literally ROVs and putting correction at the source of the seeps at the bottom. They're still spraying the area out there.
Absolutely.
And they still have a large drill rig out there that's a deep water drilling rig.
There are 4 rigs that cost $1 million per day, 7 days a week, that are at that site. The reason is they continue to pump oil, or not oil, they continue to pump cement and mud to try to plug various holes. They have got the worst disaster in human history. The fools drilled into the side of a massive salt dome with the chance of getting incredible returns on their money in terms of oil. What they got was a absolute ecological disaster. They have been, they've spent billions, but basically they're off scot-free because the tiny amount of money they've spent compared to the damage, inadvertent and deliberate, that they've done and continue to do, there's no comparison. In fact, if we are going into a full ice age or even a mini ice age, and it appears we are, but of course, again, I always say time will tell. I don't have a crystal ball, but unfortunately time does seem to be telling that we are. If we are, it will make the current economic crisis in the world caused by the greed of the global banking families pale by comparison. First off, we won't be able to feed a big part of the people on this planet. I'm talking maybe somewhere between a tenth to a fourth of the planet will not have food. If you'll remember, just this summer, the greatest grain-growing region in Europe and one of the greatest on Earth, Russia and the Ukraine. Russia embargoed all exports of grain because of the drought, and the Ukraine was kind of on the border of doing that. They cut back and so forth. That was caused by the death of the loop current. what has happened is the loop current is a key part of the thermohaline circulatory system. It's where a lot of its energy comes from. The loop that it normally makes in the Gulf of Mexico is dead. It's gone. It's history. It has been since last summer. And that warmth is not there. Therefore, the energy, the Florida current continues, the Gulf Stream continues, but not as far. And where the Gulf Stream, in effect, becomes the North Atlantic current, also called the North Atlantic drift, it simply isn't there. Now, the jet stream is the primary, in appearance, is the causative factor because it's oscillating. The reason, however, it's oscillating is this warm water, this river of warm water that goes to Ireland and part of it goes up north in the Norway current, and part heads south in the Canary current once it hits Ireland, the United Kingdom. This warm body of water effectively isn't there anymore. And for 7 miles above the ocean, it affects the weather patterns. You have a cold North Atlantic Ocean and a river of warm water, and I've seen pictures of the thermos clouds and all how it directly affects the atmosphere above it. That acts as a steering mechanism for the jet stream. That's not there. So what you've got right now are weird oscillations. You have the jet stream dipping down to Florida, coming back up, going back up to the Arctic, then dipping down into Spain. You have Cyprus is just now talking about, they think maybe winter's on its way. It's been warm there. Israel has been very warm and very dry. That's why they had their massive forest fire, especially in the Carmel Hills, which is now out pretty much. But because of the drought. Remember, you had drought in some places in Eurasia, particularly in Russia. Last summer, but we also had a lot of flooding in certain places in Europe and in certain places in Eurasia. In the Balkans, we have a great deal of flooding right now in Albania, Serbia, Macedonia, etc. This is all part of the same system. Now, what we in America are beginning to wake up to is cold, snowy weather, abnormally cold, snowy weather, and it looks like we may most of the country may have a white Christmas and a white New Year's and a white Valentine's Day, et cetera, et cetera. The real problem that we have to be very concerned about in Europe and in the United Kingdom is, they keep saying, okay, well, we're going to have more snow and more snow and more snow and more snow, and we think another couple of weeks. Well, that's as far out as their projections are going. What if it doesn't stop until May?
Right. What if we have a white July or a white June? What if we have a white out when they try to put the seeds in the ground and the ground is still frozen?
Yeah, I know plenty of farmers, and it's the temperature of the ground is you may think, oh, well, now it's nice and warm, and my farmer friends will tell you, well, it depends on the temperature of the ground.
The ground has to be 45 degrees for a seed to germinate. If it's not 45 degrees Fahrenheit, it will not germinate.
That's right. And so you may have a very large part of the developed world will not be able to raise its normal food crops, and they may have to switch. Well, you don't do that overnight because, your implements may not be ready, the seeds may not be ready, and then how about the second growing season that happens from this? The snow may not disappear.
Yeah.
It may cover the fields. This is the 3-year cycle that you've spoken of a number of times.
And the only place, by the way, where the crops are still bumper crops is America. The new currency of the world is not going to be oil. It will be food within a year.